love hearing these kind of updates because this is exactly what the journey is about. It is about you, and your partner is always going to be that catalyst for you, but it truly is about you, and for you to recognize the new place and the new energy that you're in, the peace that you're feeling. Take a moment. Did you ever feel that you would get to this place? Did you ever think that you would get to this place? That's what it's about. Of course, you might always desire your person, you might always desire your counterpart. You will always think about them, you will always love them. But what you're doing is you are loving yourself. And because you're loving yourself, you're loving life and you're opening up to the full potential of life. And because of that, you're also anchored into and feeling so much more peace within yourself, so much more you, so much more authentically you. And that is the crux of this journey. That is what this journey truly is all about. And the work that you've done to get here, just, I get it because I've been through it myself. We're still going through it. It is, I always say it's the hardest journey that we will ever go through. But there comes a point where we cross a threshold. And it's like you look back and you're like, I can't believe that I was ever that version of myself. And when you say that, you have compassion for that version of yourself. I didn't not like that version of myself. But when you realize the peace that comes, the strength that comes, the courage that comes, and I'm not talking about courage like going skydiving kind of courage. I'm talking about the courage that it takes to love yourself and honor yourself in a world that feels just very counter to that, very contradictory to that, that kind of tries to have you not honor yourself. It's an incredible feeling, and I just want you to take a moment and see how far you've come and honor yourself. And I know that I say it a lot in the collective readings. I'm going to keep saying it in the collective readings because that is truly what it's about. That is really what it's about. Yeah, so incredible job. I think I've been talking about that in the Sacred Union Empowerment session as well. It just keeps coming up. This empowerment energy just keeps coming up. Just to keep realizing how far we've come, to keep realizing the blessings of this journey, what it's brought us. And I'm just, when I read your initial email, I was just so proud of you, and the transformation that you've undergone. And I truly hope that you're proud of yourself. Okay, so you mentioned the void, and I want to talk about that for a second because I get it. Early in my journey, I was having so many consciousness shifts. It was blowing my mind. All of a sudden, I'm realizing that I'm speaking and connecting with angels, which I used to do as a child, but I wasn't really aware of it, or I had suppressed it. And so I'm here connecting with angels again. I'm connecting with dragon energy. I'm connecting with unicorns, and all this magical stuff is happening. I'm having visions. I'm feeling energy and all this stuff. And as we go through our journey, we can get really caught up in that. For me, I call that spiritual ego because we can get really caught up in that. And then there comes a point in our journey, in our embodiment, where it quiets. And it's not that it goes away, but it's kind of like how we experience our counterparts now. It's not that they go away, but it's not the obsessive energy as it might have been in the beginning of our journey. Do you know what I mean? You know how with our counterparts, like you can't stop thinking about them. You feel like you're going crazy. You're having all sorts of phenomena and dreams and activations and energy and sexual energy and like all sorts of crazy shit is happening, right? Well, that happens with our spiritual journey as well, especially as our gifts kind of whoosh, open up. And through our journey, we have to learn how to trust that. We have to learn how to understand that and have to learn how to honor that, believe in ourselves. And once we really anchor into that belief within ourselves, we're not so focused on it anymore. Because it becomes a natural, organic part of us. And that's where it can kind of feel like it's a void. We experience that with our counterparts as well, where they kind of take a back seat because we're focused on our journey, we're focused on our joy, you're honoring yourself, you're loving yourself. So they're still there, they're still present, you still feel them, you still think about them, but it's almost like they're in the back of your mind. you're not feeling the energy as intensely anymore. And that's because it's a merged energy. It's because you're balanced out within yourself. You're balanced out your divine masculine and divine feminine within yourself, which is what your counterpart's energy is. Your counterpart is you. So the more that you balance out your energy within yourself, you're balancing out the energy with your counterpart energetically. I'm not talking about physical relationship, although that is the outward expression of it, or eventually will be the outward expression of it if you're not seeing it yet. But you will feel that energetically. It'll feel, you won't have resentment, you won't have anger, you won't have grief or sadness or longing or anything like that. Or if you do, it'll be easily transmutable. What you will feel is much more peace. What you will feel is much more unconditional love. When you think about them, it'll be in a loving place. You'll experience forgiveness. You'll experience joy when you think about them, gratitude. Much of like what you're experiencing now, right? That's the balance. So it's much more natural, much more organic. We're so used to the drama of the journey, the roller coaster, the ups and downs, that it's almost like, wait a minute, where'd it go? What happened? Am I in a void? Is my counterpart actually still part of this journey? Am I still part of this journey? The only reason why we question it, why it feels like a void, is because we're not playing into the drama. We're not playing into that, the highs and the lows. It's balanced. It's harmonious within us. It's peaceful within us. You're not chasing anything. You're not chasing the up and down. You're not chasing the in and out. You're not worried about the in and out because you neutralized that energy. That's a good word for it. It's you've neutralized that energy. So that's why it might feel like you're a little bit in a void when it comes to your counterpart, but it's really that you've neutralized the energy to more balance and more harmony. And so the energy that you feel with each other is much more natural, much more organic, and much more, in essence, embodied. And you'll also experience that when it comes to your spiritual gifts. So it's not like this surprise, this wonder, this, oh my God, I'm talking to angels. Oh my God, I'm talking to fairies. I'm talking to unicorns. I'm connecting with this ascended master and this ascended master. It's all very beautiful and exciting, but it becomes a more natural process for you. It becomes a more organic process for you, where it's just, okay, I'm connected to Jesus or Mary Magdalene now. Okay, Isis is coming in. Kelly Ma's coming in. It's very natural and organic. I don't know how to explain it. And so it might feel like a void because it's not as heightened as it might have once been. It's because you are accustomed to it, in a sense. It's because you are now embodying that higher frequency and that higher energy. So it's a much more natural occurrence. You don't have to meditate for hours just to connect. You don't have to do all the work that you were doing just to be able to channel, just to connect with certain ascended masters, for example. You're just doing it naturally and organically. So that's the next level. It's the next level of consciousness. It's a balanced state. It's a harmonious state. It's an organic, natural state. I don't know how else to put it, how else to say it. It's not that you're in a void. It just feels like a void because, again, you're so used to that heightened state, that excited state, because of the newness of what was happening when your gifts were coming online or when you were shifting in consciousness, right? So now it's just much more subtle. And because it's much more subtle, you might be questioning it. Is it still here? Well, all you have to do is tune in. Tune into yourself. How does it feel? Does it still feel like it's there with you? Does it still feel like you can connect? Then you can. And I want to say too, you can always connect. There's no point in time when you can't connect. It's just your own doubts, your own fears, your own blockages. That's the illusion of separation, right? There is no separation. It's just our own forgetfulness. And so that void is just a more subtle energy. It quiets. It's still there. It's still strong. You still hone your gifts, but it's much more organic and natural. I don't know how else to say this. It doesn't have to be a a grand production. It's not a grand production because this is who you are. You are naturally connected. You are naturally intuitive. You are naturally connected is the right word, because you're always connected to God's source. And because you're always connected to God's source, you're always connected to those higher frequencies. And the more that you raise your frequency and embody that higher frequency and that higher consciousness, the more it's going to feel natural to be connected and to connect without all the kind of dramatics, right? So I always say that spirituality, it's not a showy thing. It's a personal path. You know, you don't have to dress up in muumuus and a ton of crystals and stuff like that to do tarot readings or to channel or whatever. If you prefer that, that's fine. There's no judgment. I'm not judging. I'm just saying, I just want to be clear that it's preference, right? For me, I wear jeans and t-shirts all the time. You know, I wear cardigans. I'm a preppy kind of person. So like I'm a jeans and a cardigans kind of person. You would not think of me as like a tarot reader or a psychic medium. And yet that's exactly what I am. It's because I'm just embodying who I am and expressing that with the work that I do. It doesn't have to be a grand production. It shouldn't be a grand production. Spirituality just is. It is a personal path to you, and how you're expressing yourself authentically to you is your expression of your spiritual journey. It is your expression of yourself. Again, like sometimes I like to wear like really flowy, flowery dresses and stuff like that. It really just depends on my mood. But it's not because I feel like I have to fit into a mold of one thing or the other. Again, spirituality is not a showcase. It is a personal path in which you express yourself. And the more that you ascend in consciousness, the more that is going to express itself in much more natural and organic ways, because you are embodying your true authentic self. And so when it comes to your spiritual gifts, because you're embodying your true authentic self, because you are in that higher consciousness, you're naturally connecting to those higher frequencies, but it doesn't have to be a grand production in order to connect now. And to that end, you're always going to be expanding in your gifts. Just keep paying attention. Just keep tuning into yourself. Keep tuning into God's source. Keep tuning into the messages from the universe. You know, if you feel like you're stuck, if you feel like you're stagnant, that's one thing. That's when you're being called to maybe go back to the basics. Go back to the basics and utilize the tools, the resources that you have. Maybe that's going back to meditation, or going back to a tarot practice, or going back to reading sacred texts, or whatever it is that you are called to. Go back to the basics. Those basics are just a reminder of what is inherent and natural to you. So I hope that makes sense. Again, it's not so much a void as this next step is just a natural, organic, spiritual energy. It's just a natural, organic evolution now. It's not the highs and lows of your spiritual awakening or the highs and lows of your ascension journey. The higher heart ascension is very natural, very organic, and even very subtle, because you're in that embodiment state. You're embracing all of you, your authentic version of you, and therefore it is just an organic, natural experience. It's an embodied experience now. It doesn't have to feel so showcasey as it might have in the past. Okay?